Where'll you be going?
Texas?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Go on, make it happen.
And now here's Steve and Michelle.
Welcome from the heart of Dripping Springs. We are Mallet and Michelle, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis, and Stephen Murray Mallet.
Michelle, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm actually, I think I got up before you this morning.
You were up pretty early.
No, I was up.
I got up at 4.
I think I got up around 2:30.
Were you up or were you just awake in bed?
I was obsessing over the tile that I need to put around my fireplace, and they come Thursday, and I don't know what to do. And I'm so tired of making decisions.
Well, it'll soon be over, hopefully. It seems like things are starting to move along.
Well, I'm running out of money very quickly. Very quickly.
Welcome to the world of 2024. I think there's a lot of people saying, I'm running out of money. Where's it all going?
Yeah. I am. I'm gonna have to start my OnlyFans feet account.
A feet account.
Yeah, look.
I'm gonna sell pencils down out on the street by McDonald's next week.
Send $5, please.
If you want ugly feet, I'm up for that. I have those. Hey, guest today, Courtney Lampkin from MaxLiving Chiropractic here in Dripping Springs. That's going to be pretty cool.
I have been trying to get her on probably like 2 years, and our schedules just didn't align. And she is a lovely person. She really is.
I haven't got to know her very well, but the little bit I've talked to her, she seems very nice. So We're going to get her on here in a little bit and catch up with her. Shred Day. We had Shred Day last week. We talked about it a little bit on the podcast.
Yes.
Huge success. Shred Day was.
Almost 7,000 pounds of shred paper that people brought. I think Keith Lee won the award for the most,
like 20 something boxes of paper. Jeremy, what are you doing?
Jeremy. And then we also had somebody that just came with like one little folder, and she wanted to shred that and watch it.
Can I watch it on the camera? You can watch it on a camera.
Yeah, but that was Dripping Springs Elite Real Estate Professionals Mallet Integrity Team. We used to host that.
Yep.
And
Oh, we forgot about our sponsors here.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Our sponsors today, thank you for supporting the show. Nomic Power Solutions,
Mallet Integrity Team,
and Capital Farm Credit.
Farm Credit.
So thank you all for that. And so it's Shred Day was actually done by Dripping Springs Elite, which you and I are founders of. I was the president for 7 years before I timed out of that. Had to step down. A lot of people don't know we're like juggling a lot of things. We've got the Mallet Integrity Team. We've got Dripping Springs Elite. We've got the Airbnb business, and we're podcasters, and we get invited to events as press.
I wash cars on the corner on the side. I'll wash your windshield.
I sell pencils out in front of H-E-B and McDonald's. Yeah. We have a lot of stuff going on, but it keeps us busy. It's funny when you meet somebody at an event and they go, oh, yeah, you're a podcaster. Like, yeah, that's one of like 6 things that we do. But I do really enjoy this. This is one of my favorite things to do.
It's like, what hat are we wearing today?
It's true. I was at an event and somebody said, you look very familiar. And I was like, okay, which one would they know me from? Is it real estate? Is it the Dripping Springs Elite? Is it the podcast? I don't know. Because it's weird if you'd say, well, I have an Airbnb, I have a podcast, I have Mallet Integrity. It's like, well.
Well, no, you for years and since the inception, you headed up Run by the Creek.
This is true, 12 years.
So actually, a lot of people who are listening, they probably have walked or run the Run by the Creek, and you're not having it this year.
We're not having it in 2024. We lost the venue. Long story there. We talked about it on the podcast before, but it's moving to Speeding Springs. There's a new guy, Barrett Criswell, who has been on the podcast. I can't remember what episode, but like in the 60s, I think, who's from Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He's going to take over heading it up. I'm still going to help, but I'm not going to be the main guy. It's, when you wear as many hats as we wear, sometimes you got to go, I think I need to retire that hat because it's too much. But I'm excited. It's going to come back in March at Speeding Springs, and we'll probably do 2 events next year, one in March and one in November. So we're going to get back on the November rotation, but just to keep people in mind of it, we'll do one in March too. So
and Mallet Integrity Team will be a sponsor of that as well.
Since the very beginning. That's right. So, hey, we went to this thing. Our really great friends over at Southstar Bank.
Southstar Bank.
Southstar Bank.
Southstar Bank.
Brent and Kim and Dylan and the staff over there, they invited us to this economic presentation last week at was it Austin Country Club?
Yes, bougie.
Yeah, I felt all poor walking in there. Like we walked right by a brand new Ferrari on the way in there.
I
Like,
want a
ooh.
gift card.
You did to Eddie V's.
I know. I'm excited.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
When are we going?
Oh, well, you don't eat beef, so.
Oh, damn it.
And they don't sell chicken sandwiches.
I bet they do. I bet they do. Well, they had this demographer from the city of Austin come out. Her name was Lila Valencia, and she presented a whole bunch of stuff, but it was kind of about the changing demographics of Austin and Travis County. But I took a couple big takeaways here that I thought our listeners would be interested in. Here they are. Austin has been the fastest growing large metro in the country for the past 12 of 13 years. Last year, it lost that title as being the fastest growing to Jacksonville, Florida. So now Austin is number 2. Jacksonville, Florida is number 1.
I bet you next year they'll drop off with all those hurricanes.
That's probably true. 5 of the top 12 biggest cities in the country are in Texas.
That was pretty amazing to me in that sense. But geographically, we're so large. I guess we can handle it. But they all kind of flock to Dallas, Austin, Houston,
San Antonio.
San Antonio. Yeah. Didn't they say that what year did they say that Austin will be bigger than San Antonio? Didn't she say that? Like in 2035 or something like that?
I remember reading, it was sooner than that. It was 2045 or something. I can't remember.
Well, 35 is before 45.
Yeah, I don't remember the date, Michelle. All right. For the first time in 20 years, the population of Travis County declined last year. I was wondering about that. You think that's all the city council stuff, all the bad decisions the city council's making about, making the police force smaller and allowing homelessness to take over and crime in the city, and it's dirty now? And
I think so, and I think that property taxes are probably a shock to some people. People
That
who
is
come
true,
from
yeah.
Just state taxes, and then the whole work from home thing has kind of fizzled out a little bit. They're demanding people go back into the office, or they're out of there.
Well, some companies are, but the city of Austin is still encouraging people to work from home, showing you how backward they are. The biggest growing age group in Austin is 25 to 34 years old. It's
I
a
believe
very
that.
young city.
Yeah.
65% of the Austin workforce, this one actually shocked me, 65% of the Austin workforce has a bachelor's degree or better. The city is a very educated city. The most immigrants to Austin come from number 1, Mexico, number 2, India, and number 3, China.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was kind of surprising.
The guy that put in my bathroom cabinets yesterday, I was asking him a question, and he said, "I'm sorry," in very broken Chinese. His English was not very good. He spoke full-on Chinese.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
So Chinese immigrant.
Yeah, Chinese immigrant.
That backs that up. And then the final thing is the population by 2060 in Hayes County is expected to increase by 316%.
That was the one takeaway that I took, was that while Travis County is diminishing, Hayes County is continuing
booming.
to grow. Now, we are kind of in a real estate slump right now, but I think that has to do with just the state of the economy in general.
I think that's a national thing. Yeah, I don't think that's Hayes County. And I think when things turn around, and it will, because it always does, that Hayes County is just going to explode. So
they
it's
better
going to
get
be
these
interesting to
roads
see.
fixed.
Yeah, get the roads fixed. Where are we going to put all these people? What are we going to do about water? I mean, making sure we vote for good quality people in Hayes County is more important than ever right now, because there's going to be some hard decisions that need to be made.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of voting, by the time this is released, it is election day. People are constantly saying this is the most important election of our lifetime, depending on what side of the aisle you're on.
I think it's both sides of the aisle.
I think so, yeah. So I thought it would be fun to kind of run through some of the buzzwords, or you could also make your own bingo card if you wanted to, and you hear these the night of when results are starting to come in. Okay, so
I don't want to be burdened by that. That's one of the words.
Yeah,
if you
burden.
use that as a
What is done is
drinking
done.
word.
Yeah, well, let's just put it this way: you're going to be asleep.
I will be
you will
asleep. I
probably
will
be
not
asleep.
know who won the president. Well, actually, most of us may not know on
Actually, they
November
said
6th,
they
but-
may know beforehand because early voting has been so well. Besides the Electoral College, but early voting, we've had such a phenomenal turnout that they have a good prediction
They
of
might
who.
be able to announce it
may.
on election night, like they should do.
Well, I did see a couple of states. I think it was Pennsylvania and somebody else, Georgia. They said that it could take up to 10 to 14
but
days.
I heard that something that the Supreme Court said no, they have to be counted on election day.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I think that's a federal law.
Well, so get your bingo cards out. You ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay. Election denier.
Oh God. Yeah.
Hanging Chad. That was an old one. I just had to pull that one from the
Yeah, our
past.
younger listeners
Yeah.
probably don't even know what that's about.
Hope, change, and joy.
Oh God.
MAGA. Extremist. Electoral College. The popular vote. Voter turnout. Exit poll. January 6th. You know that's going to come up. Voter ID. Mail-in ballot. The polls are closing. Swing voter. Landslide. Too close to call. And margin of error.
Oh God.
So
yeah,
there's,
you're right.
there's my bingo card.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see all the people that were saying, depending on the outcome of the election, all the people in 2016 that were saying, well, Hillary won the popular vote, so we should do away with the Electoral College if it flips this time and Harris wins the Electoral College but loses a popular vote. If those same people will say, we need to do away with the Electoral College.
Yeah, well, I may come in a little late on Wednesday morning because I've been invited to an election watching party for Anthony Hippolito's campaign.
I hope he gets in. We really need him in
I really
office.
do. And so just depending on what goes on, I plan to be celebrating into the night at Hayes City Store.
Well, good. Whatever happens, I hope that the country wakes up that next day and the people that could do weird things don't.
Well,
Don't go out and
let's don't burn
cars.
let's
and
don't burn the country
hurt
down,
people.
please. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just not. Let's just be grown ups on both sides and let's heal this nation and
whatever
go forward.
side wins, don't go out and get in people's faces and nah. That's not going to do any good.
No, you don't change anybody's mind by
Yeah.
doing that. Absolutely not.
Well, one of the things that you didn't say, which would be also one of those words you'd hear a lot around election time, is the American dream. Does the American dream still exist?
Well, yeah.
Do you think it still exists?
I think it's a personal. I mean, it depends on what your definition of American dream is. I mean, yeah, I've hit it. I've achieved it.
Do you think young people still aspire to have the American dream?
I think they're a lot more pessimistic this generation because of social media and everything is curated and everything is being told that their life is not enough because people on social media
That's one of the worst parts of social media.
Yeah.
No matter how good you're doing, social media will show you somebody else that's doing better, and then the young kids feel like, well, why don't I have
Yeah.
that? Why don't I have that body or those clothes or that car or that
Mm-hmm.
house? And they feel like they're missing out on something. Well, I thought this was interesting. I came across this article from Visual Capitalist, which is a website that makes these charts of just current trends in the U.S. The costs of ownership over a lifetime of the American dream. Here's some of them. Having a car for your entire life costs you $811,000.
Wow.
Yeah, if you think, that's gas, insurance, car payments, all that. Wedding costs are $44,300 now on average. That's insane. That's a good down payment on a really nice house.
I'm telling you, it's the wedding venues, but I think also right now that people are having reality checks and they're pulling way back from all the
I
big
think
weddings.
so too. I think that's changing, and we're seeing that in the wedding venues. We've talked to some people
Yes.
that own wedding venues out here, and their business is way down. The cost of buying a home over its lifetime, which is a 30-year mortgage with 20% down, is $930,000. So the average home price in the U.S. now is $412,000, but over the cost of the 30 years, you're going to spend $930,000 in, insurance and upkeep and all that.
I think I spent that on Amazon last week for my house.
You probably did.
If you looked at all the boxes.
Don't tell Todd. Yeah. Dying, it costs now $8,500. The cost of burial and a funeral and all that is $8,500.
I can't even afford to die now.
No, me neither. Retirement, and this one actually blows my mind. $1.6 million is what it costs to retire. I'm thinking, who can retire on $1.6 million? I don't see how that works.
You mean like that's not enough?
No, I don't think that's enough.
Oh, I'm screwed. I'm screwed.
I think you need a lot more than that now. I mean, life expectancy, I will talk to Courtney about it. Life expectancy has increased. I just read the other day that a woman in Houston lived to be 115 years old.
No, that's why I need to be nice to my grandchildren
so they take care of you. Yeah. So here's a couple more. Cost of taking vacations over a lifetime, $180,000. Cost of having a pet, $36,000 over a lifetime.
Or if you own a mutt like me, it's like $100,000.
Exactly, yeah. Cost of raising 2 kids, $832,000. Almost $1 million to raise 2 kids.
Each kid?
No, for 2 kids. But you think about that. One of the things, we talk about inflation all the time and, grocery costs and electricity costs and gasoline costs. But we have, one of the things that's gotten really expensive is college educations have gone through the roof.
I know.
We need to get on top of that, but without just forgiving what the debt that these people take on.
You choose to take on debt, then your degree,
then
your
you
art
pay it
history
back.
degree, you
That's
got to pay it back.
That's right. So the total cost for the American dream right now, so you grow up, you want to have all these things we just talked about, is $4,482,000. That's what you have to make in a lifetime to achieve the American dream now.
No wonder I'm broke right now.
I know. Because we've done all these things, huh? The average lifetime salary of men is $3.3 million. So they're over $1 million short. The average person in the U.S., man, is over $1 million short. For women, it's $2.4 million. So they're like half of what they need to achieve the American dream.
That's crazy.
So that American dream, I mean, the answer to my question, is it dead or dying? It's out of reach for more people than it's probably ever been. Yeah, and I think we've got to get on top of that. So.
I don't know how you get on top of it. I think the taxes. So just a little plug. My friend Dodie invited me to a dinner and meet and greet with Governor Abbott last week. And
a little name drop.
But I want to tell you. I want to tell you what he said.
Dropper.
He said, jealous. He said that we're going to have another surplus in Texas, and he's going to propose another huge property tax.
It's about time.
Refund.
Yeah. I mean, it's about time. Property taxes are killing people.
Yes.
And especially like us, we don't have kids in school anymore. We're still paying those huge school property tax bills.
One word, tariff.
Tariff, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see if Trump gets in and does some of these things that one of the things, he is thinking outside the box. And in this country, we've had a period of time. Now, it's been a long time ago. I think it was in the late 1800s where tariffs were the main funding mechanism for our entire federal government.
I'm trying to remember who it was because I was listening to the history of it and which president did away with the tariffs and then started the federal income tax.
It was in the 1900s.
Was it the one that was shot and killed? Assassination. Grover Cleveland, was that?
Might have been. I don't know.
I can't remember, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting week. Buckle up, Buttercup.
Yeah, buckle up, Buttercup. Yeah, by the time this comes out, no, it'll be the day this will come out on Election Day.
Yes.
Duck and cover.
For sure. So we're going to have Dr. Courtney in here. And I know we've had a chiropractor on here before, Dr. Tracy and Dr. Todd Whipple.
Yep.
And I don't know if I ever went over this before when they were in here, but it was about the origins of chiropractic care. And it's kind of wonky.
Is it?
It really is. It's like it's a little out there, but this is the origins. Doesn't mean that this is like what people are practicing today. Okay, so So it was founded by D.D. Palmer in the 1890s. And he wasn't a doctor. He didn't consider himself a doctor at the time. He considered himself a spiritualist. But he also used what he called called himself a magnetic healer. And so he would place his hands like above and below the body, and it would claim to generate this magnetic force through his hands, and it would run through their body, and it would cure what ailed them. I know it sounds like kooky. One time he claimed to cure a deaf person by cracking their back.
Interesting.
Okay. He was also jailed for practicing medicine without a license. He also claimed that what he did was a religion, and that people who were under him, under this practice, should follow this, quote, religion. And many over the years have claimed it's like chiropractic care was pseudoscience. And, I guess now there's schools that they have to go. They have their doctor of chiropractic care. Sure. They go for 4 years, and chiropractors, they follow this philosophy now. This is what's going on now. They follow a philosophy that every system in the body is connected, and use non-invasive techniques like spinal readjustments, as opposed to like doctors, they use cutting edge medical techniques. It's Eastern versus Western medicine, kind of that whole thing. A lot of times, it kind of surprised me. Now, my insurance does, but a lot of times insurance doesn't cover chiropractic care because it's considered holistic.
Right.
Or alternative medicine. But I do think it's interesting that some people try to diminish the schooling that a lot of chiropractors have to take.
I was just going to say, Dr. Courtney that's coming in has a degree in sports medicine and exercise science before she even went to chiropractic school.
I think good chiropractors understand that understand they need to treat the whole body. And then also there's more and more chiropractors I'm seeing that are getting into the supplemental care business as well.
Yeah, I was looking at Dr. Courtney's website, and she talks about 5 essentials, which we'll talk to her about, is core chiropractic, nutrition, mindset, oxygen and exercise, and minimizing toxins. So I think you said holistic, they're doing a more total body thing rather than just popping your back and saying, okay, all good. I think they're looking at everything in what's going on in your body now.
You know what I want to ask her is, you know what that pop is?
Isn't it nitrogen gas popping out
which
of
is weird. It's like, so the
joints?
Sound of being popped is actually, it's called cavitation. I'm saying it. Cavitation. It's caused by nitrogen leaving the joint space. Yeah. How does nitrogen get in there in the first place? And
maybe
why are
it's
people
something to do with irritation that creates nitrogen
so
bubbles?
I want to ask her that. I'm like, and I'm obsessed. Like, I will stop on any video in. Right? Can you do it? I can't.
I just tried. I couldn't do it.
I have to pull them now. I can't pop my neck anymore because I have neck fusion. So I used to be really, really bad about popping my neck.
Today. I got one. You're bragging about your neck fusion.
That's not a brag.
No, I'm kidding.
Why would I brag about my neck fusion?
I'm kidding.
No, I'm just saying I can't pop my. You're sassy today.
I am sassy.
I don't know what your problem is.
It. I had a good workout this morning. I ran 7 miles and went to the gym for an hour. I saw a couple friends there. I feel good today. Well, today's a good day.
Courtney's going to come in and I'm going to lay on the floor and see if she'll walk on my back.
I bet she will. So I'm actually excited about this one. She's a runner, so we're going to geek out about running a little bit, I think, and I want to talk to her. I like that her point of view is more of an all-encompassing thing rather than just popping your back and doing a little manipulation.
Yeah, that can be dangerous. Quite honestly, that's why I had to have neck fusion.
Oh, really?
Because my neck was not. I probably also because I did it as well, and I had whiplash a couple of times from riding the Rattler in a car accident. Oh, but it was that final adjustment that I had that did it for me.
I don't know if I'll say this in front of Dr. Courtney, but that's what scares me is that, I mean, it's, I've heard of people that have had damage, and it scares me that.
Well, I think if you're going to people that don't understand what they're doing and they're not looking at the whole body, and it's a business, right, of doing business.
Yeah, I know. I have been to chiropractors, and I'm just looking back, they weren't looking out for my best interest. They were looking to get me signed up for some special program or, and so.
I think that's what separates her from many different people, because in talking to her before and in looking at her bios and other interviews that she does, her faith really holds her accountable. Yeah. And I don't think that she would do anything for money. I think she does it because she truly believes this and she takes the care. And, doctors of chiropractic, they have to go through CE classes, I believe, and they have to, there's accountability. Right. And so I'm interested to get her in here and see her take on all of this.
All right. Well, let's take a little break and get Dr. Courtney Lampkin in here.
Are you tired of being left in the dark when the power goes out? Say goodbye to blackouts with Nomic Power Solutions.
As your full-service Generac dealer, they offer individually designed backup power solutions.
From start to finish, they've got you covered.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Nomic Power Solutions. Protect your home, protect your family, stay ready. Proudly sponsored by...
At Capital Farm Credit, they understand that owning land is more than just a transaction. It's a legacy, a future, and a place to call your own.
For generations, Capital Farm Credit has been the trusted lending partner for land loans, farmers, ranchers, and rural dreamers just like you.
Their personalized loan solutions cater to your unique needs, making the journey to land ownership smoother than ever.
Capital Farm Credit, your land, your legacy. Visit CapitalFarmCredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Mallet Integrity Team of real estate professionals. They are based in Dripping Springs and bring you over 45 years of combined experience helping people reach their hill country real estate dreams. When you want the best in town, call them at 512-829-2062 or look them up at malletintegrityteam.com. And now, here's Steve and Michelle.
And we're back with Dr. Courtney Lampkin with MaxLiving Chiropractic. Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
We are glad to have you here today.
Yeah. Where'd you grow up and how'd you end up in Dripping Springs?
Oh, that's quite the story.
Yeah.
I actually grew up in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. And growing up, we had a Boys and Girls Club, and Oprah Winfrey used to be like on Zoom sometimes with the Boys and Girls Club because she actually grew up in Kosciuszko, Mississippi.
Oh my gosh.
So I used to tell people like, oh, we have one famous person from there as well.
I didn't know that's where she grew up.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I don't think her whole life, but part of her life she did. But it's a little small town. I graduated with like 110 people.
My gosh, geez.
So yeah, and there might have been like 2,000 people in the entire town, but it was very much like Dripping Springs, except Dripping Springs is a lot bigger. But I grew up in the country. Like my grandmother had like a farm, and she was like, let's go shuck corn and like pick the peas and everything. Wow. And so did my granddad on my dad's side too. And so I actually have lived in about 5 states now. And so I started in Mississippi, and then I went to Belhaven University. And I chose Belhaven because it had like the most prestigious sports medicine and exercise program. And one of the people who helped found that sector and profession taught there. I don't know if he's alive anymore, but he was a really, really structured, like hard teacher as well. And then I went to chiropractic school in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, right outside of it. Technically it's Marietta, but Atlanta, Georgia. And that was kind of, oh yeah. That was a culture shock for me growing up in such a small town. I was like, all these people like everywhere. It's so much to do. Like, cause where I grew up was like an hour and a half from a mall. So I was in Atlanta and I was like very culture shocked.
That's a big city. Yeah. There's a lot going on there. We went to school there in Atlanta, and then where did Dripping Springs, Texas, come in this?
Yeah, so I was choosing between Florida and Texas because like it's probably the best state for chiropractors. More open, people are more open-minded about holistic things as well. And I practiced in Tampa, Florida for a little bit. I actually did my internship there. both of the doctors there found out they were pregnant around the same time. They were going to have babies around the same time. And so I was asked to stay a little bit longer. And so I helped kind of run the practice and kind of get my feet wet with running the practice and things like that. And I learned a lot from them. And then I ended up in South Carolina to learn from my mentor, who still is my mentor now. But while I was in Florida, I was like, oh, there's no like city country feel like where I grew up. Like I want to be closer to the city than where I grew up. But Florida is kind of like a concrete jungle. Like there's beach and then there's just like concrete, no like city and country feel. And then
or swampy.
Yes, very swampy.
Alligators.
So I was like, this isn't my field necessarily. And then I had researched like healthiest cities, things, growing cities where young professionals are, but also like somewhere I wanted to plant roots because I had moved so much. And so Austin kind of came up and I looked in Austin. Like the city kind of, but I want to be away from it. I visited Bee Cave and I loved it. And I was like, that's where I want to open. And actually later I had, after visiting, gone back to practice and then just kind of thought on it and kept researching. But then I had a dream about like a building in Dripping Springs because I was choosing between two leases and the guy was like, there's one. I was like, I've never been there before. I don't know. But I had a dream about the lease and the building itself. And I was like, okay, well, that's a sign that I should go there. And I had never really been here before. But I felt like that was a sign from God that I was coming here to make an impact on the health of many people's lives. And just knowing like my background in health and chiropractic as well, I just want to help change as many lives as I possibly can.
That's a great story.
Oh, it is a great story. But you said about your background. So you got your degrees are in sports medicine and exercise science. Mm-hmm. So when did you know you wanted to go down this path?
Well, at first I was like nutrition or physical therapy, and I love talking about nutrition still to this day and figured out that you can do that through chiropractic too. But I've visited a physical therapist and just didn't really like it because it's a lot of dealing with just injuries and things like that, very slow paced. And I was like, man, I have too much energy for all. Like I know I'm a fast paced type of person. And I just wanted to make a different type of impact. And so I didn't really know about chiropractic until I had health challenges and I was able to go to a chiropractor, and he really changed my life because I truly don't think I would be here without the help of him.
Tell us about that.
So I actually grew up really sick. In Mississippi, we eat everything sugar. So it's true that we add sugar to everything.
So does Michelle.
She's changing that.
No, actually, it doesn't affect her for some reason. I don't know. She just had a what was it? Shirley Temple 7-Up yesterday. It had 45 grams of sugar in it. I was like, I didn't even tell her that's like eating 10 Oreos, but now you know.
That you eat 10 Oreos.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry,
that's okay.
Courtney,
I'll help you change.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we added sugar to our vegetables too. Like you put a sprinkle of sugar in everything you eat, basically. Yeah. And
I'm not the sugar fiend. Like he's a sugar
I am
fiend.
a sugar fiend.
But that's interesting because my grandfather grew up in Mississippi and he did the same thing.
Yeah.
He put sugar on everything.
Yep.
So it's just a cultural thing. It's just how you grow up. It's just what you do.
Yeah. And people were like, when I started to change my diet, people were like, why are you doing that? You just eat. Like, you don't research what you eat. But because of how I grew up, even though I was really active, like, it's not just about moving your body. It's about different components of health because health is multi-pronged. But I actually went to a doctor when I was young, and I just kept having infections, like throat infection over and over and over again. I had always been in the emergency room too. And so I had to have my tonsils removed at an early age, at the age of 3. But he said when I went in, like they were so rotten that they practically fell in his hands. That's how bad they were. And a lot of kids now, like they're having issues with their immune systems and not realizing why. And if you remove a kid's tonsils, then they actually have a harder time fighting off disease in life for the rest of their life.
Oh, really?
So they have to try 10 times harder because your tonsils are actually a part of your immune system. And so if you remove the tonsils, then all of your lymph nodes have to do the work now. And so think about a child having swollen lymph nodes a lot of the times now, and they're just more sick over time. So we have all of our body parts for a reason, and it really shouldn't be removed. We should just figure out the cause of why it's there.
They don't do that much anymore, though, do they?
They still do.
They still do remove tonsils? I thought that was sort of a thing of the
All
past.
of my kids, let me think. No, Tate and I are the only ones that have our tonsils.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I had heard that. I mean, I heard that a long time ago, that the tonsils they like capture infection or something before it goes into your system. Yeah. Wow. Interesting. So you were having all these issues. They removed those and then removed your tonsils. And then what happened after that?
Just continued to get sick. And I was even more sick after the fact. And by the time I was in 5th grade, I was experiencing extreme neck pain, extreme low back pain. I was still active in gymnastics and things like that, still going to multiple doctors, trying to figure it out. And then by the time I was in 8th grade, I had gained about 20 pounds between my 7th and 8th grade year. And I really didn't eat much at all. And I was like, why did I gain weight that fast? That's not normal. And they figured out that I had hypothyroidism, and I went to a doctor and they were like, you're going to be on this medication for the rest of your life.
You're like 13, 14 years old, right? Wow.
Yeah. And they were like, this is the only option for you, just to be on this medication, which is what so many people are told now. Or they try to get people to remove their thyroid if they have an issue versus like trying to actually fix it and find a problem to it. And so that just didn't sit right with me. I was just like, what do you mean for the rest of my life? Like, shouldn't medication be like just for emergency, short period until you kind of figure out what's going on?
Is that when your opinion of like the wellness of the whole body just kind of, even at that young age, you started opening up and going, well, there's something different about this?
Right. At that point, I was just like, okay, it seems like I just keep getting medications or surgery or to remove something. And that just didn't sit well with me. Right. Like, we're designed for a reason. And, we're designed by a creator that created our bodies for a reason to function well. And we should have all we need, but we just got to treat our bodies right. From there, I was put on to a muscle relaxer, a pain reliever, and then my health just continued to get worse, still in multiple doctor's office, specialist office. My parents had spent about $60,000 on medical bills. And then from there, I was put on 2 antidepressants right before going into college.
Wow.
And I, growing up, I also did the allergy shots too that some kids are getting too, because it's like, okay, yes, your allergies are going to flare up if your body isn't working properly. So a lot of the medications that people take, I can relate to how people have gone to multiple different doctors and try to figure things out and not really gotten the answer that they deserve. And so that's what was happening to me, and my body just continued to shut down to the point where when I was in college, I had to actually pause for about a couple months, like a semester, before getting back into college because I started not to remember any information I was reading.
Oh, my gosh. Geez. And you think that was the medication, all those medications?
I think it was years combined of bad nutrition choices, also like not really getting to the root cause of things, but just medicating and removing things through surgery. And I had been tested for breast and ovarian cancer, and they did find polyps, and I got those removed as well. But it still didn't tell me, like, why, why all these things were happening. But it's a combination of that, like nutrition choices, but also mental stress from going from doctor to doctor and not really finding an answer to.
Yeah. So then you found this chiropractor and you went to him and he was able to help you.
Right.
Did fully recover, partially recover? What did he do?
Yeah, so I had gone to one chiropractor before, the one who helped like change my life completely. But the first chiropractor I went to, he didn't really like take x-rays, do an exam. He's just like, okay, what's going on? Okay, lay down on the table and let's get adjusted.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. We were talking about that in our monologue about how some chiropractors, people talk about chiropractor as kind of being a pseudoscience. And it's because of those bad experiences. You have the bad apples in there that are just in it for the dollars, not for the health and wellness of the patient.
Right. And so, like, I actually flared up with that because he didn't know. Like, you can kind of guess about, like, there's ways to adjust a patient without seeing, but you can also, like, that can be very scary of, like, not knowing what actually the person's spine looks like, because the next chiropractor I went to, my mom had actually, like, researched him, and she had gone to him first and saw a lot of good results from him, and he actually was a part of the MaxLiving network as well.
Okay.
So that's why I became a MaxLiving chiropractor. The network of doctors is just, like, we really want to focus on the patient. We really want to do a good job with the patient. And if we can't help you, we're going to partner with somebody to help you.
What sets you apart from different chiropractors? What is so special about this MaxLiving group that that you think that other chiropractors don't do, that you probably hear from patients when they first see you?
So one, we want to do a really good exam on a patient. And so when a patient comes into the office, and sometimes I get kickback on this because some patients like the no exam or whatever, and they just go in and only go for pain, but that's not what we do. So I sit down with them and talk through their full history. I want to know, like, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis that's causing your spine to be in such a bad position? Like, what do you do for work? I want to know, like, what your history is like, if your parents had anything going on, because typically people just think it's like, okay, if my parents had this, I have to have that. That's not necessarily true, like a pass down. Things can pass down genetically, but it's mainly the habits. Like, families have the same habits, and if we can break those patterns and habits, then they see a difference. And I want to know, like, if there's any injuries that you've had, what type of medications you're on as well, because that actually makes a big difference in how I adjust. If I know a patient's on a bunch of blood thinners and all these things, and, like, I'm going to adjust you slightly different depending on your past history. And then I'll do posture, range of motion, and I like to take x-rays too, because there's multiple times, even in this past year and a half, I've been in dripping springs that I found a AAA, if you don't know what that is an abdominal aortic aneurysm.
Oh.
And what that is, an emergency situation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm calling your cardiologist right then and there, or I'm sending you to the emergency room if your cardiologist can't get to you the same day. And so I find things like that on the x-ray when people is like, it's back pain. But I'm like, okay, let's figure out exactly where it's coming from. I'll know if I'm able to help you or if this is an emergency situation where I have to send you out.
Right.
And then you get that fixed and you come back so we can continue to fix other things, lifestyle changes in your health too. And so that's really important. I found liver disease on a patient looking at through x-ray. I found fractures, all types of things that, you can guess about. But if you see it on the x-ray, it's a confirmation of really what's truly going on. And also through x-ray, I can see the severity of the spine. So it'll tell me how much you need to start coming in, because a lot of the times people go to different chiropractors. They're like, just come in whenever you want to. That should not be how it is. If you really want to change your structure of your spine and impact your nervous system as well, because the worse it is, the more it's going to take to change that.
Right.
Dr. Courtney, tell me, we were talking earlier about, that pop, that crack that you hear is the nitrogen in your joints. But tell me, how does an adjustment help? How is it that just adjusting your spine, how is that in relation to everything else that's going on in your body?
Yeah, so I know it's like, this is the coolest thing to me, because the spine is so intricate. And so with the spine, you need 3 curves in your spine. In your cervical spine, which is your neck, your thoracic, which is your mid-back, your low back, which we call the lumbar spine. And if those aren't in a good position, then it's going to impact your spinal cord. And so your spinal cord runs through all of those bones, which people think with chiropractors, like, it's just about the bones itself. No, it's about what's in the bones too.
Okay. Yeah.
And so think about, like, if your spine is super straight, or like I think of a kid who's looking down all day at their cell phone, their spine is not going to look too good, right? If they're looking down all day, they're not getting up playing outside. And so changing the structure of the spine, moving the bones to where they should be, that is going to impact the nerves. So if the spine is in a bad position, it irritates the nerves. It irritates the blood vessel. It stops the lymphatic drainage that should happen to help keep you healthy as well. And so moving the spine into a good position, by the way, if you hear sound or if you don't hear sound, that doesn't mean the bone is moving.
Okay.
So sometimes you can get an adjustment that has no sound, but I can feel the movement. The patient can also feel the movement, but they may not necessarily hear anything, even though people become addicted to the sound.
That's what I was telling Steve. I was like, I could watch TikTok all night on chiropractic.
That and the dang, I got another hamstring cramp. What the heck? It's
Oh,
a chair. I swear to God, it's
No,
this chair.
it's the chair.
Yeah. I completely lost my train of thought because that really hurts.
Oh no, you were talking about what else I watch on TikTok, but no, it's primarily
Mrs. Pimple Popper. or
Yeah,
whatever the
Pimple
heck it
Popper,
is.
Pimple Popper, and that for sure. So how does just from layman terms, how does nitrogen get into your joints?
Yeah.
So what happens is when the spine moves into the wrong position, there can be fluid buildup around the joint as well. And then there's a space that's created between the facet joints. And so that's how the bones line up together, is through the facet joints. Whenever you move that bone, you're hearing that space close, and it just releases that gas from the space as well. So sometimes you'll hear it, sometimes you won't hear that sound, but that's just gas releasing from the joints through moving the facet joints.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to talk about, on your website, it talks about the 5 essentials, I guess, of healthy living, which would be core chiropractic, nutrition, mindset, oxygen and exercise, and minimizing toxins, which all of that is really interesting to me. Can we touch on each of those real quick?
Yes. So like I said earlier, health is multi-pronged. Sometimes people think it's just one thing, but it's multiple things that get you healthy over time, which is core chiropractic. Because if you eat healthy, you do all these things, you're moving, your spine can be misaligned on a daily basis. Sure. Especially Americans, because we sit in a car where most of us have
sit in
desk
these
jobs.
terrible chairs that cause cramps.
Yes.
If it wasn't this chair, it was the other chair he was griping about.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we sit for long periods of time, which is why we call sitting the new smoking.
Yeah, I've said that before.
Yeah, the longer that you sit and the more activities you do that are harmful to your spine, the more you're going to affect your nervous system too. And your nervous system connects to everything in your body. And so that starts from your brain, goes down, goes out to your thyroid, your heart, your lungs, all of that. And so getting pressure off of those nerves and lowering the inflammation around the nerves and the blood vessels and the joints, getting those healthy can allow your body to heal and function better. And a lot of people come to chiropractors just for pain. But really how it happens is as we move the spine into a good position, we stop the nerve irritation, we increase the blood flow as well and help with lymphatic drainage. And that's what allows the body to start to heal. Therefore, people are like, I don't have any more headaches or low back pain, or I'm starting to notice I have more energy and less sleep issues as well. And so really it impacts the whole entire nervous system as people get adjusted. And really that's the best thing about chiropractic care, is that even some people don't know that they have issues, but as I'm addressing the whole spine, they start to realize I'm less bloated. I didn't even know I was bloated before, because you can tell me, you cannot tell me things, and I can see it through your posture and through the x-ray that there is an issue there, and start to address it. Even if you don't have any symptoms in that area, that still allows your body to heal and function optimally. And so that's a big component. Like even if I'm eating everything I need to, I still need to get adjusted. I still get adjusted every week to make sure my spine is in a good position so I can live a very high quality of life too.
So let's talk about the other 4 then: nutrition, mindset, oxygen and exercise, and minimizing toxins. That a couple things that jumped out to me on that is nutrition and minimizing toxins. It's really hard to find real, true, accurate, reliable information on that anymore. How do you come up with, telling people what to eat, and you get on social media and the all these people are claiming, seed oils are bad and this is bad and this is good for you.
Did you hear about the boycott on Kellogg's too, of all of the
because
artificial
of the food dyes? Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
What we're allowed to eat here in the United States is not allowed in the majority of the other European countries.
Read much about that?
Oh, yes. So it's so funny that all this stuff is coming out now because we as a network of doctors have been preaching this for like hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And so that's what I teach my patients about in my workshops, because I do free workshops for patients and their family members and friends. And so this last workshop, I talk about toxins and nutrition too. The biggest thing with nutrition is reading the labels and knowing where the food comes from. So if you read the labels, especially on packaged foods and things like that, you want to shoot for like 5 ingredients or less. And if you can't read something and know what it is just from reading it, then that's a bad sign. That means there's chemical additives. And with seed oils, they can actually stay in your body and in your family for up to 2 generations.
Oh, my gosh.
And so people really need to be careful with chemicals because there are a thing as forever chemicals. They stay in your body and they're really hard to detox from. And so the industry has gotten really, really tricky. They'll change the names to things and like, oh, this natural flavors, but natural flavors actually have tons of chemicals in them. They don't want to put all of the ingredients on there, so that saves the company
it's a catch-all,
time.
Yeah.
And it looks great because it says natural on it, but that's a way of tricking the public to just buy something that they think is healthy.
You know what, Courtney, though? It's so hard to go into the store and go, I was getting these tamales in the freezer section, and they came in this little like cloth bag, and I thought, oh, these are good, and then I took them home and I started reading the label and I was like, holy cow, these things are crap. It's really hard to go into the store and figure out what is okay to eat. I guess if you just buy everything from the produce section, you're doing all right.
You stay on the outskirts of the grocery store. I guess
the freezer section's on the outside, though.
Sometimes it isn't. My cheese in a can was right by the freezer section.
But my question: how do you do it? How do you actually achieve this clean eating?
So you use some reputable sources like ewg.org, and then toxins also go into daily products too. But just to stick with food for a second, like you said, shop the perimeter of the store. And I always tell my patients to look for the number 9 on all their produce because that means it's organic. Now, organic doesn't mean nothing was sprayed on it. It means less pesticides were sprayed on it as well. But you still should be watching your fruits and vegetables in apple cider vinegar and water and let them sit for 20 minutes to get all the parasites, chemicals, things like that out of the food as well. If you aren't doing that, then most likely you're still consuming the dirt, the pesticides, all that too. So soaking the food makes a big difference. Looking for the number 9 on produce and then choosing local.
You're talking about on the label?
There's a little sticker on there.
It says number 9.
I mean, let's just break this down here and be honest. Who has the time to sit there and soak all of their stuff? I get it. I mean, I get the premise behind doing it, but why is this stuff even legal to begin with?
Right.
And I mean, I'm a big follower of RFK Jr.
Yes,
like what he is saying.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, go ahead.
What he says, and he has really been eye opening because he kind of says it in layman's terms for every man to understand. And he's healthy and he's fit. And I mean, we still want to enjoy with our guilty pleasures every now and then. But what he's saying is essentially at the source, our food source here in the United States, what we're feeding our babies, our children, is crap.
It is. Yeah, that's very true. And so many people oh my gosh, you would not believe the things I've heard of moms letting their kids drink Coca-Cola and babies drink Coke.
That was big. That was a big thing in the Valley when I grew up there. You'd see Coke or sodas in baby bottles, but I'm sure kind of like where you're from, there was probably Mountain Dew and things like that in baby bottles too. And they get that, what was it called? Mouth rot?
Oh yeah.
Or bottle rot. Yeah, bottle rot. Where
from really high sugar
or
stuff.
Milk, they just sit there with a bottle and it just rots all their teeth and everything out. I mean, it's pretty sad.
It's just so hard this day and age to go into the store, though, and figure out what you can eat without limiting yourself to just like 12 things. It's really hard to figure out how to have a diverse diet, but stay away from all the junk.
Well, I think, talking to you, we're starting to realize that the chiropractic care is more than just a popping of a back,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of going back to what we were saying earlier. You're looking at the whole body.
Right.
And without treating the whole body, you're not going to necessarily treat what brought you in the first place.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So if somebody's coming in and they're having those lower back problems and they're wanting their lower back fixed, but you're saying, hey, you've got some gut health issues, you've got some inflammation issues that's probably causing, your back's kind of out of alignment a little bit. How are you talking to those patients that are just kind of dead set? Nope, just pop my back.
Yeah, they will get adjusted, which is good, which is good. And that actually helps with digestive health and things like that too. I typically don't get a lot of kickback, just a few patients in particular who've had previous experience, and they're like, well, they just told me to lay down on the table.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes people with a bunch of previous experience can kind of like have a little bit more difficulty understanding that I'm not just here just for your pain.
Right.
Like, I want to help you get healthy overall. But 90% of people who come in, they're like, oh, I get exactly what you're saying once I explain it to them. And how I explain it is like, okay, like I want to hear what's going on to help get to the root cause of what these issues are. And I explain the nervous system to them, and that, you have a brain that controls everything. And through that, your brain has to connect to the rest of your body. It's like your highway. So let's say you're on the highway and then there's a car accident. That jam is a misalignment in your spine. And so to clear that jam, we have to fix the misalignment. We have to adjust that to get pressure off so the brain and body can send the signals like they're supposed to. There's no way anything in your body can function if you let those misalignments stay there.
Sure.
And there's actually research that shows if a misalignment stays there for more than 2 weeks, then it can start to cause damage throughout your system as well. And so that's why I promote like get adjusted on a regular basis. So you're not just waiting for the next problem to pop up as well. And then I always ask about their nutrition as well. Like, what are you eating? Are you drinking sodas, eating candy every day? Like, what does your diet look like? Because we're kind of fighting against each other with the inflammation if you aren't willing to change those things. And so I'll have patients come in, they say they want to change, and then they're like, oh, but I'm still eating this. I'm like, this is hindering your healing process. You have to change this. Like, what do we need to do to keep you accountable? What do you need to do at home, or what friend or husband, wife, whatever do you have to keep you accountable so you can make these changes?
Well, sugar is an addiction, right?
Yeah, it's a drug.
Yeah. My dad has been trying to give up sugar, and he's done really well for like a month. He's had he'll do like tangerines and things, but natural sugar. But he took a Ghirardelli chocolate at a dinner he went to the other night, and he said the cravings came back instantly.
Really?
He said he went home, he went back to his apartment after that, and he was literally like a drug addict walking around his apartment trying to figure out where he might have had some sugar stashed. Isn't that crazy?
That is
That's how
crazy.
addictive it is.
Wow.
He'd been off it for a month. So I'm going back to what you just said. Some people come in, just pop my back. Do you think that the American public has sort of been trained we go to health professionals just for this quick fix? Hey, doc, just give me the pill. I'm out of here, and the doctors are like, they're going to see you for 5 minutes and they just want to, take care of you and send you out the door. Is that what's going on?
Absolutely. And I see all these people on a quick fix for weight loss and all these things. And I'm like, you're going to end up harming yourself more after the fact if you don't just correct the problem that's happening. And so, so many people like, I want it fixed in like one adjustment. And some people do have immediate results, but it's not just about like what you feel either. It's how you're healing too. And if I see there's still a problem, we still need to work on correcting it, even if you do get an immediate fix. And sometimes healing is slower for some people because of how long the problem has been there. And also think about if one person, their diet and exercise is already lined up, the last piece they're missing is chiropractic care. they're going to heal a lot faster than somebody who is eating sugar every day. They don't exercise. Even if I tell them, they're still not exercising, so their healing process is going to take a lot longer. And sometimes healing doesn't always feel great at first. And so that's the hardest thing to get out of people's head, because they expect to instantly feel better. And it's like, no, sometimes healing doesn't feel great. Think about if you go on a parasite cleanse, the first thing you're going to do is feel headaches. You're going to feel even sicker than you were.
Right.
And do you just stop the parasite cleanse if that happens? No, because it's part of the healing process. So I think over time we've taught people that if you start to feel bad after you start correcting the issue, then it's the wrong thing to do. And it's like, no, like sometimes healing does not feel good at first, but just be consistent. And I think, yes, that's the biggest challenge with people, is teaching them how to be consistent and not quit on things so easily if their healing process is not how they thought it would go.
Being healthy is funny though, because most people don't have a baseline, right? They you get to a certain age, you wake up and everything kind of hurts, it aches, and you're just like, well, I'm at that age, that's how it's supposed to be. They don't know that it could be better.
Right.
And then they don't know to what degree it could be better.
Right.
They could feel 3 times better, but they don't know that. They just expect that this is how life is supposed to go.
Right.
Courtney, I want to talk to you about the business of doing business per se. You came from Mississippi via, Tampa and all the Atlanta and all these other places that you lived in, and chose Dripping Springs. Being a small business owner in itself is just very challenging. But you are also a Black business owner here in Dripping Springs, Texas. Have you faced any kind of unusual challenges that maybe you thought that you would challenge, or would face, or you wouldn't face, or how's that been experienced for you? Now, I also do know, just to kind of side note, I know that you have a very good support system. I know your mom's in the office with you. Mm-hmm. And so that probably helps a lot to have mom there.
Yes. When I first opened, I didn't have her there because I asked her to retire from being a principal. She was a principal for pre-K up to 3rd grade. She had a lot of teachers and kids in one building. She had a lot of responsibility. But yeah, so when I first opened, it was just me here, and I had to hire a team and help me out and things like that. But a lot of it was just done by me solely. But growing up in Mississippi is a totally different thing. So you kind of build tough skin, especially if you're Black and in Mississippi, you go through a whole lot.
Really?
And so I was like, anywhere else I go is going to be way less intense than Mississippi. and it is. Anywhere else I moved is totally different, because Mississippi is probably the most intense state with how they treat people and things like that, unfortunately. And I hope it's changed, but it was the same way when I graduated college.
Do you feel like the town, though, has embraced you? You haven't had any problems, have you?
I've had a few challenges.
Interesting.
Yes, especially like at first when I first opened, like men in particular were kind of like, "You're small. Like, are you really going to be able to adjust me?" And I'm like, "It's all about technique."
Yeah.
Like,
it was more about your size than your race per se.
Some of it.
Were you worried about that at all? Did that cross your mind?
I knew people would like say something about it because I've worked in other offices with women too, and like I may have been like one of the shorter ones, but not always the shortest.
How tall are you?
I'm 5. I say 5'5". They say 5'4.5" when I get measured.
Well, you're taller than me then. You're taller than me for sure.
That's funny.
Well, gosh, just even running a business, like I said earlier, has become very challenging, and that the learning curve, everything that you've had to learn. I'm sure you had a really good support system through MaxLiving as well. But the town, I see you out everywhere. Mm-hmm. You're on the chamber and every kind of event, school event or whatever. You kind of have just immersed yourself into this community, which I think is wonderful for yourself, for your business. How's your personal life here in Dripping Springs?
It's good. I have a lot of good supportive friends here. At first, I don't know what a personal life looks like because there was times I was like up until 2 or 3 in the morning and had to wake back up at 5 a.m. And I was like, okay, you can't do this for too long because then your health will start to be affected. But yeah, I'm working. Like people think if I'm not in the office, I'm not doing anything. Why are your hours so I'm like, I'm doing things outside of like there's a lot of work to do outside of like seeing patients face to face. But thankfully I have a good team now. It kind of took us a little bit to find the front desk person we have and then get my mom on board too. And she's just very helpful too now. So I could take a little bit off.
Does she run your office?
Plate.
Is she kind of like your office manager?
She's
Is that
the
what she
office
does?
manager, yes. And then we have a front desk person too who does like appointments and everything like that. And I handle everything on the back end with patients and all their needs and things like that, which is what I
feel like it's going pretty well.
It's going pretty well, and now I have a lot of friends in the Dripping Springs area. Like we meet up outside of like business too, which is really nice to have that support system from them. And we can bounce ideas back and forth and kind of support each other. And when I have workshops, I invite them to the workshops to be a vendor and reach out to patients as well. So it's kind of nice to have like naturopathic doctor in my realm, acupuncturist, and you know, other business owners too. But it's going well. So we learn the different seasons of Dripping Springs too. So it's a little bit different than any other place I practice with the seasons.
If you figure that out, let me know, because I've been here 22 years and the season just I never understand.
Well, but there's also in Dripping Springs, there's football season, there's baseball season, and there's camp season.
Yeah, I want to go circle kind of back to care, and this is a question not for me, but tell me about aging. What do you talk to your patients about aging?
It's from
How
him.
do you address it?
It's from him.
What do you tell them?
So you are going to get older over time, but what you do to your body is what makes the difference. And so it's kind of like growing up, like I ate all these different things, and then like I was really harsh with the sports I did and like activities growing up, jumping off of stuff. And so really from the moment you're born, how your birth was, and all those years, they're going to dictate your aging. Like if you're drinking more, smoking more, you're going to age pretty rapidly. If you're taking more prescription drugs, having a lot of surgeries, you're going to age pretty rapidly. But what helps is making sure you get your supplements, vitamins in, making sure you're exercising. Exercise reverses aging. And so if you can get your mitochondria functioning well, if you can get your blood
Point at Michelle. Point at Michelle.
I'm a witch. Look at me.
Yeah, you are.
I've probably had, no lie, 12 surgeries. My mother smoked when she was pregnant with me. And you get
complimented every day about how great you look.
I'll be 54 in a month and a half.
And you don't get that caveat. You look normally they say, oh, you look great for your age, but you don't get the caveat.
No, they can't believe I'm as old as I am.
Yeah. I've been seeing some stuff, Dr. Courtney, on social media about how exercise can shorten your life, like extreme exercise.
Extreme, yeah. That's what a lot of us actually didn't realize, that even chiropractors that are now starting to CrossFit is really good. And I do CrossFit sometimes, just not for every single workout.
Sure.
I do, especially for women during different times of their cycles too. You don't want to work out extreme every single
Also during
time.
menopause time when you're, for sure.
So you need lighter workouts, especially as you're, aging, getting older. But some people run marathons when they're 80, and I always said that's what I wanted to do. But
you and me both.
So just making sure that, you're getting the correct water intake, nutrition. Like I always limit myself to 2 things in the grocery store that I can buy in a bag or a box. That's all I can get is 2 things in a bag or a box. Everything else is has to be on the perimeter, like you were saying, or from the farmer's market to wild caught and local, because I tell my patients this: if you're getting an animal that's from Canada and you drive that animal to Dripping Springs, and then all those cortisol hormones are built up. Cortisol, makes you age faster.
Sure. Wow. That's
It's
crazy.
stress.
All the things you got to keep track of.
Stress. What are some of the big myths of chiropractic care that you can debunk?
Some myths. One big one that some people think is like ask me is like, do chiropractors cause strokes? I'm like,
Oh, I've never heard that one.
Yeah.
No,
For
we don't.
The neck, yeah.
We don't cause them. However, sometimes chiropractors miss them if they don't do a proper exam.
Okay.
And so if a chiropractor isn't doing an exam, that's a good sign. That's a bad sign and you probably shouldn't go there. So just making sure all chiropractors do a proper exam, which I think we're trying to get everybody on the same page.
You're talking in
at this
relation
point.
to the neck
Right.
adjustment, or I've seen it where they're strapping their neck in and they're on the chair and they're jolting them, and it like kind of goes all the way down their back.
And that's that technique can, if it's done well, can be very helpful. It just depends on the amount of force the chiropractor is using.
I have a fusion. My neck would fall off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that would work for you.
Yeah,
No.
for you would have to get for patients, and that's the other myth I can debunk is that people who have surgeries, doctors tell them, which is actually against medical doctors' license to be telling people they can't go to a chiropractor because that has been a rule and a law for a long time. But if you have a surgery, some people think that you can't see a chiropractor. You can. You need to go to the right chiropractor who knows how to adjust with a surgery. Most do. I say most because I can't speak for everybody. But what I do is I do instrument adjusting around the surgery, because usually what happens if you have a surgery, no matter what the surgery is for or from, you can adjust above and below where you had a surgery, because typically if you do have a surgery, the joints above and below start to get affected as well. And they sometimes surgeons don't tell people that, and they're like, you're good to go forever. And I see patients come in and they're like, I have more issues now than before. Surgery.
My husband's on it. He had his third back surgery because above below, and they had to redo all that. But yeah,
I hear more people complain about their back surgeries not giving them relief than I hear people say that they got relief from back surgeries. Mm-hmm. That's kind of scary. You talked in your bio about running. So is that how you decompress and stay fit, is running?
Well, running, lifting weights, especially for any woman who's a smaller woman, you have to lift weights because your bones will weaken without you lifting weights. And then there's more injury in small women who don't lift weights.
I stage.
And more bone weakening.
I lift weights.
True.
I lift furniture.
She does sort of CrossFit real estate stuff. She moves furniture around. But I agree with you that I'm 61 years old, started lifting weights about 5 years ago after a pretty severe injury, and I think it's helped me stay much healthier than if I wasn't lifting weights.
And I always say all movement is good movement. I never say this one is bad or this one. Just have a mixture of things you do. I'm not going to run every day. I'm not going to do CrossFit or yoga every day. I'm going to make sure I have a mixture of things throughout the week. I'm going to focus on running one day during the week. I'm going to focus on weightlifting one day, and then I'll focus on stretching one day and make sure I get adjusted throughout the week. Yeah. And so doing a variety of things, and just to make sure your body is ready for any types of movement. Doing a variety is going to help. If you bend the wrong way, you're going to get less injured than somebody who is just doing one type of workout.
That's right.
Yeah.
You were talking about the different types of injuries. What is the most common chief complaint? But I also want to know, to follow up with that, is can you pop yourself? Do you teach people how to safely do it, or is there no safe way to self-pop?
There's really no safe way to do that. People actually injure themselves more and injure their blood vessels more if they're doing it, if they're trying to do it themselves. And I always tell people, if you're doing that and you're seeing me, do not do that while you're seeing me, because you're going to cause more injury to yourself. What you can do, exercise, stretch on your own. I teach people stretches in my office and home care to do at home. There's other things that you can do to support your spine, and I teach my patients how to do that at home. But the adjustment itself needs to be done a certain way by a trained chiropractor who's had years of experience.
So stay off of YouTube.
And knows what's going on with your body.
You said the chief complaint that you're seeing over and over again here in Dripping Springs?
So I have a couple, but the main one is like low back pain is what I
From
see
sitting?
more. From sitting, from people driving back and forth for jobs and things like that, or past injuries. Like I have athletes in my office, wrestlers, football players, basketball players, and things like that. Previous like people who are in the military typically have a lot of spinal issues. So I see a lot of that.
You think that's from the PT activities they do with like heavy packs and things like that? Or what do you think causes in the military?
Yeah, so that plus like the long-term military, anybody who's in the military runs a whole lot. And so the disc in the low back tends to be affected, and like all the heavy packs, because both my dad and my brother were in the military too, which is why I have such a big heart for anybody in the military or law enforcement and things like that, because I know, even in law enforcement that they carry the heavy belts around their waist.
And then there are a lot of them most of them are wearing body armor now. Yeah, they're pretty weighed down.
I have a question in relation to Steve, because Steve and his wife Holly, they're big backpackers, and they're out there and they're exercising and they're getting, but his teeny tiny wife is carrying a backpack that I swear.
My wife is smaller than you, and she carried a backpack for a week in July in Oregon that was probably 45 pounds. So, and we hiked almost 50 miles.
Are the damages doing more, or the backpacks that doing more harm than good eventually, because now she's hiking long distances?
She doesn't have any back pain. She's fairly healthy. Well, I don't know. Dr. Courtney, what do you think?
Well, there's a couple signs that the low back is being pushed a little too far, not just the pain aspect, but the structure of it, which she can't see unless she has an x-ray, but also digestive issues, reproductive issues, sciatic numbness and tingling, weakness of the muscles is also a sign that the low back is in a bad position. But it all depends on like how you prepare for it. It's a difference if like, let's say you go hiking with a 45-pound backpack. You've never been hiking before. You don't lift weights. You haven't ever had anything heavy on your back. That is going to cause way more injury than somebody who has been lifting weights, worked their way up to being able to carry that amount of weight and actually hikes on a regular basis. It's going to affect the body totally different if you prepare for the right things. But sometimes people are like, I just started working out and I lifted all this weight and I haven't. I'm like, wrong. I didn't tell you to do that.
When we were talking about aging, I think one of the biggest things I've learned, well, two things. One is you build up to things. Like if I'm going to run a marathon, it takes me 12, 14, maybe 16 weeks to prepare for a marathon. So, and I listen to my body. So like when I was younger, I have a training plan and I got to run 12 miles today. And even if my nose was running and I had a sore throat and my leg hurt, I would go run the 12 miles. Now I'd be like, ooh, God, my body's kind of broken down. I think I'll take a day off. I'll just stretch and, and relax a little bit. So that for me is huge.
Yes.
That's interesting though. Like, but when she's done with that hike, when they're done with that hike, what kind of mode does your body go into when you've pushed it to such extremes? Because they're going to do this again, a rim to rim in the Grand Canyon.
We're going to go to the Grand Canyon and you go start on the south rim, drop down in the bottom of the canyon, go up to the north rim and turn around and go back up to the south rim in hopefully like 18 hours. But
yeah, so how should they, I guess, unwind their body from all of that stress they put it in? Sleep
is one of the best healers for sure. But a couple things. So it depends, like pay attention to your body throughout the hike too. And I don't know if you're the people like, I'm going to keep going or I'm going to take a break. But like if you notice, okay, I got that one. Keep going. Okay, so since you guys keep going, at the end, take a measurement of like how your body feels. Hydrate really well. Make sure you're either using spring water or you're using water that has electrolytes in it as well.
We'll do that. Yeah.
And so you want to do that before, during, and after, though. And then just make sure you rest really well. So you want to sleep a little bit longer than you typically would, 9 to 10 hours a night, especially the week after, and just prioritize that. And then also fuel your body with a lot of healthy fats as well.
Okay.
And so sometimes people think like, no, I don't eat fats. That's such like a fad type of thing
Yeah.
at one point when people were saying don't eat fats, but fats nourish the nerves. They nourish
What's a healthy
the body. So avocados are a healthy fat. That's probably the biggest one. And then also like coconut oil. Make sure you're adding that to your foods as well. And then any type of like raw cheese if you aren't sensitive to cheese.
I'm sensitive to cheese,
so
but
then
Holly's
avoid
not.
that. Anything like that, start to add back to your diet. Even salmon, things like that, they have healthy omegas in them. So prioritize eating those right after a run too to help nourish your body.
Dr. Courtney, in your bio, you said one of the struggles you have is practicing what you preach to your patients. What do you preach to them, and what's that struggle all about?
Yeah, so there's a struggle, but I also hold myself accountable to a certain extent. But like I said, growing up, the sugar habit, sometimes I'm like,
you still get a craving for it?
I still get a craving for it.
It's so addictive.
What's your guilty pleasure snack food?
My guilty pleasure, well, my brother used to get me peach rings every Friday growing up. Yeah, he's the best big brother ever. I love him to death. And so he used to like get me treats all the time. And like every Friday I was looking for my peach ring.
He was your candy dealer.
And so like that's what I crave sometimes. Usually I don't crave donuts, but unfortunately I went to Drippin' Donuts one day and I was like, oh man, I love me a donut. Let's not do this again for a while.
Yeah, it's so hard though, right? It's like, okay, I'll just treat myself one day, but then you get those cravings. That's what gets me. It's like, you know what? I ran 12 miles this morning. Yeah, I deserve to have whatever, a pastry or something at Time and Dough. But then like 4 hours later, you're like, wow, man, I could really use a cookie.
Right.
I'm serious. That's what happens to me.
What's funny is like when we go to these events and, they'll give you these like prepackaged meals, like a sandwich, chip and, a drink and a cookie. Like I never eat the cookie ever. And like, we have a client or an advertiser that comes by and brings us cookies and stuff. Like I'll have like, and I could leave a package of M&Ms on my desk for months.
Yeah.
He will eat them all in one day. All in one day. He will eat them. I'm not a big.
It is. That's my thing. Is I justify it in my head. Like, I did.
You eat healthy though. I give you crap about it, but you do. You for the most part you eat healthy.
Dr. Courtney, what's something our listeners could start doing today? Just one thing that they could start doing today to be healthier and live longer.
One thing. The biggest thing I've learned for myself recently, which is my struggle, also drinking water.
Oh, okay.
So if you hydrate yourself, you will forego a lot of health issues.
You mentioned spring water. So what about the alkaline water? Like, is there a preference? I mean, what is this? What am I drinking right now? Texas spring water. I mean, came from the HEB's
in
faucet.
A plastic bottle.
In a plastic bottle. Yeah.
I was about to say the biggest thing is like
microplastics.
Yeah, like what you put your water in, and then also like most people drink tap water from the house. So
I don't drink. That's called sink water at my house. Yeah. I don't drink sink water.
You don't drink sink water.
So basically making sure that your water is filtered, whether it's reverse osmosis or if it's spring water, if you're trying to get electrolytes in, make sure you're drinking spring water as well. But you want to mix throughout the week too. You want something with nothing in it, and then also drinking spring water.
I like Steve and I both. We like the brown water. That's our favorite.
Iced tea.
Iced tea.
Yeah.
I do like the brown water for sure. Okay, so I have a couple of rapid fire questions. Okay, ready? What's the best pop you've ever had adjusting somebody? Just went on for days.
I did I don't do this usually, but on kids, but side posture adjustments.
Oh, that good one. Oh, yeah. Okay, so has someone ever farted on you during an adjustment?
Not on me, but during. That kind of happens more often than you would think.
What do you say? You just ignore it, or do you?
I was like, that's okay. Like we're opening up the nerves of the digestive system. So,
what's your go-to unwind after a long day at the clinic?
Oh man, my favorite is like watching Emily in Paris on
really?
the couch.
Now it's going to be Emily in Rome or something,
Really?
right? Yeah, it's the next season. Yes. Okay, so who's your favorite to adjust or easy? I guess easier, babies, teenagers, or adults?
I don't know. I have this thing for like anybody over 60. I love older patients, but I also love like little babies too.
Like
But,
beep, pop, boop. What is best for you? Running, swimming, or walking?
walking for sure.
Oh, darn it.
Okay, here's another one. The last one.
Oh, by the way, I don't care. I'm going to still
He doesn't.
run
I know he does.
run and swim.
Walk more.
I'm a walker. I'm a walker. Cold plunge or sauna?
Ooh, but since so many people are dehydrated, I'll go with cold plunge.
My husband's a big
Yeah.
sauna proponent. Like he works out and he sits in the sauna for like 30, 35 minutes at the house. We have a
Yeah.
have a
Really good
sauna.
for you.
I think you just said it, Dr. Courtney. I think most people are completely dehydrated. They way underestimate how much fluid they need during the day, especially in Texas,
Well,
where you just walk into your car, you sweat.
How much
man.
fluid do we need? So
Well, there you go.
what's the formula?
So I tell my patients half your body weight in ounces. And I thought I was doing this until I went to the naturopathic doctor I go to. And she was like, you aren't getting your full, you're causing yourself some health issues. So half your body weight in ounces is
But
the
then
appropriate
the
amount.
older you get, though, like I will cut down my liquid consumption in the evening because I don't want to disrupt my sleep and get
By
up.
getting up to go pee.
Yeah.
I have read about that actually. Yeah, that if you, so like a couple hours before, but then you spend the night, because when you breathe, you give off.
But if I drink too much water, too much
Yeah.
tea, I'm not hungry
yeah.
too. So if I have too much liquid, so I need protein so I can.
You know, it's interesting. So I had this period of a couple years where I was doing triathlons, and almost every time I raced, I would cramp up, like in my butt and my hamstrings, like today, and my quads, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And what it was I was super hydrating the day before with just water, and it was washing all the electrolytes out of my system. And then, so I wasn't dehydrated, but my salt
Electro-
balance was off. So I started drinking water with electrolytes in it. Sometimes even I add a little salt in there. Gone away.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Your body needs those electrolytes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And fluids are different than just water, too. So if you hit your water goal, so if you don't want to drink close to bedtime, like for an hour from bedtime or whatever, just hit your fluid goal before that time. And there's no way to know unless you measure it, too.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
This has been great.
I'm going to make you know what my takeaway is? I'm going to make my tea with spring water.
Okay.
I don't know about that one, but
Courtney.
I know the guilty pleasures we gotta have. Well, Dr. Courtney, this was fun. I actually learned a lot from you, and I knew I would. But it's been a great time.
awesome. I enjoyed being with you guys, too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for inviting me.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Get to know your local full-service Generac dealer.
Cody and Dylan with Nomic Power Solutions are a veteran-owned, Texas-based Generac dealer and installer.
Offering low monthly payment options, it's never been easier to gain independence from the grid.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Turnkey service including design, plumbing, electrical, and permits.
They even offer set-it-and-forget-it maintenance plans. Nomic Power Solutions.
Protect your home. Protect your family. Stay ready.
Ready to turn your land dreams into reality? Look no further than Capital Farm Credit.
Need a loan for your perfect piece of land? Capital Farm Credit is there for you.
Their dedicated team will tailor a loan to fit your unique needs because your dreams are their priority.
Capital Farm Credit. Your land, your legacy. Visit capitalfarmcredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
This show has been brought to you in part by the real estate pros at the Mallet Integrity Team. When you're looking to buy or sell, you need them on your side. Why settle for less when you can have real estate done right? Give them a call at 512-829-2062 or get more info at malletintegrityteam.com.
You know you like us, so go now to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave us a review. Why don't ya? We love your feedback and comments. Email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Thanks for putting up with us.